difficult as an opponent, A, because he's brilliant, but B, because he charms the pants off you.
It's thrilling to watch him play because you can almost see the wheels going around in his mind. He thinks differently somehow.
He's an entertaining guy, a good guy. He's what we call in America a class act, if you know what I mean.
His personality was so flamboyant and so good for the game, and I'm really glad I got hooked up with him.
He's unique. He is genuinely unique. I mean, when I talk about him, I have a smile on my face. That's what he does to people.
Well, I've had very many challenges, but it's not necessarily always the best player who challenges you. I spend most of my time when I play thinking only about winning. So all the tactics that are necessary to win are easy to me. As far as losing goes, I don't think about that side.
For 100 million people all over the world, there's only one game in town. And of those millions, this man is the one they all want to beat.
How are you?
How are you? Nice seeing you. Just back from the road?
Well, just I've been in London for a while. Just come back. Be here for a couple of weeks.
How was the luck?
Well, not bad. Usually the two best players don't meet each other. It's like the gunfighters, you know. It's usually the kids who want to beat you, and they're much easier to beat. The trouble is, as you get older, you become the man as opposed to being the kid. Usual steaks, Auntie? I'm going to kill you today.
You never want to sell, say it.
Let's go get him, Edith.
Bridge is the most popular card game ever invented, and untypically is always evolving and developing. The name bridge is in fact only 100 years old, having derived supposedly from a variation of whist, played on the Riviera called Russian whist or birich. In this century it has continued to transform itself through auction bridge to contract bridge, the game of today. Now there isn't a country in the world where you wouldn't be welcome as a fourth for bridge.
One play is right.
In the last few years, Zia Mahmood from Pakistan has rapidly become the brightest star of this fascinating game. His flamboyant and unconventional play has won him a legion of fans and the respect of his fellow professionals. But his often controversial behavior has also ruffled some feathers in the sometimes stuffy bridge world.
Squeeze the dummy. People think that bridge is a mathematical game, that to play bridge you need to have a fantastic memory or a computer like mine. That's totally untrue. It seems in the beginning to be a very difficult thing, but in practice it becomes automatic. When you get up in the morning and go to office, it isn't difficult, though it would be to someone who came from Mars to look at you, to choose a tie, a shirt, and a handkerchief and a suit that match. But after a few days, it becomes very simple. And bridge, you get used to, like dressing, of remembering certain cards. And when you do something 10 times or 20 times or 30 times, you do it very easily. And the mathematical part of the game is totally exaggerated. It's much more to do with feeling, with instinct, with emotion, with natural ability perhaps, and with enjoyment of the game. I like the dramatic, the psychological. For me, one of the greatest joys of playing bridge is to sit opposite you and in 20 minutes to gauge what kind of human being you are and understand you, and then use your strength or your weakness to beat you at the game which you are also involved in. And this aspect of the game is much more interesting and much more challenging to a lot of people. Chinese laundry, strong milk.
You mean the KISS system?
Basically.
Do they play KISS in London?
No, but I'm sure they will if you tell us how.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Zia became very interested in playing in our regular game that we have here in New York at the Regency Whist Club, and I was very helpful in getting him into that game. and he's now a member of that game, and there were quite a few people who didn't want him to play because they were afraid that he was too good. And I don't think there's any question about the fact of how good he is. I think he's added something to that game. He's added a lot to it, because he is one of the most fun people I've ever met.
About time they finished.
All right, finally a victory, Edith. Bien joué.
Zia and I met the first time we were playing in a competition, as one might expect, a bridge competition, and he was, at the time, my opponent, and I said, who is this brash guy, where is he from, and what's going on? But we hit it off pretty well, because we both like to kid around a lot at the table. As a matter of fact, Zia is like usually scolded for talking too much when he's playing, kidding around and socializing, and of course I'm the same way. So when I play with Zia or against Zia, we're both constantly scolding the other one for being too noisy, but we like to be boisterous and have a good time when we're playing.
Old style.
Three spades.
Pass. All right. Game. Four spades.
Pass.
All right.
The vocabulary in bridge consists of only 15 words. The suits, spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs, no trump, the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, double, redouble, and pass. And in those 15 words, you can send a picture of your partner's hand, your hand to your partner sends you back a snapshot of his hand, and you arrive at the best possible contract. I don't play much bridge for money. Occasionally with Zia, when he comes to New York, I might play for money. But otherwise, not so much.
The toughest players of the world often collect in New York. It's vital, it's vibrant, it's alive, and it's action.
Is there big money around here?
Well, you know, as you know, most bridge is tournament bridge, where you play duplicate, which is not to do with money, it's really to do with trophies and prizes and international levels. And that's what I do most of the time. But New York is perhaps the only city where I really play money bridge. There's not much of it in England. And we have some high-stake games here. In fact, I have a daily game, which is quite high stakes, but I also have 2 or 3 nights a week, an exceptionally high game.
Well, I play in a bridge game that I guess would be called a big game. I'm not so sure it's the biggest in the world. That I don't know. But it's enough so that if you lose, you hurt a little bit, you bleed a little.
What sort of money are we talking about?
I'm not talking about it. You bleed a little, that's all.
Well, I play for as much as $10 a point. And that's about 20 times as big as the game that we play in normally. And that's a lot of money.
One time I won a car, but you know, things like that, it's just, you know, it's kind of fun, but basically you're playing for the win.
What's the most you've ever won or lost?
I think it was about $35,000.
Did you win?
And I'm smiling.
When you played for about 5 or 6 hours, you could win or lose 30 or 40,000 pounds. And I mean, but that's a very rare game. I mean, it's not really that the gambling side of bridge is overextended, because where money bridge does allow a lot of gambling and even high-stake gambling, it's like golf. In golf, you may play for very high stakes when you go around a golf course, or you may just play for the great enjoyment of it. And bridge is very much like that. Most people play bridge with almost no money element at all. Now, it is a fact that I do sometimes play for high stakes, but I'm a gambler in all things in life, and it's not necessarily the normal in bridge. People don't usually make it slam.
I had a good hand.
Who had the
King of diamonds.
King, Jack, 10, 5 of diamonds.
Yeah, you had a great hand.
How soon should you start playing?
Well, there's no such thing as a particular age. You could learn the game as early as 10 or 11 years old and enjoy it, but I think if somebody learns at 15 or 16 years old, they can often keep with it. I mean, myself, I started when I was about 23 years old or 24 years old, so I started very late, but it certainly didn't affect my enjoyment of it.
Why did you start playing?
I started playing because, well, this is a kind of a weird story. I qualified as an accountant, and I went back to Pakistan, and in those days, it wasn't really easy to meet girls. You know, they're a very protective society, and they used to have arranged marriages. So to meet a girl was rather difficult in the normal manner. But I became friendly with a girl who the only place where she was really allowed to go was to bridge parties. And I used to arrange to meet her at bridge parties, and on the excuse of meeting her, to play bridge. I didn't know bridge, but I learned bridge quickly so I could get there. And by the time I learned bridge, I was so much in love with bridge that I forgot everything else and went on to play it.
Zia Mahmood was born in Karachi in 1946. His father was a successful lawyer and his mother a gynecologist. When he was 4 years old, his father was tragically killed in a plane crash, and his mother brought Zia to England.
I was educated in an English public school, Rugby. My brother, who was involved in politics in Pakistan, once spent a year in jail. And when he came out, I said to him, how was it? Because he was in solitary, he was here and there. And he said, look, once you've been to an English public school, jail is nothing. After I went to school in England, I decided to become a chartered accountant. And I joined a firm when I was like an article clerk, is what you have to do. Perhaps one of the most boring things I ever did in my life. But after I showed how bad I was demoted to a timekeeper, which was even lower than article clerk. My family was actually one involved in politics and business. So I really expected that I'd end up my life running the family business or doing the normal thing of a person from my background. And I was most surprised, and my family were most unhappily surprised when I turned to bridge.
Profoundest apologies. You know what happened?
The image of bridge in Pakistan, like all over the West, is very old and staid and old-fashioned. But the image actually is totally against the reality. And bridge is probably one of the most vibrant games you could ever play. It's full of life, it's full of color. And unfortunately, if someone could change the image and allow people to know the actual truth of what bridge is about, it would probably do a great deal more for bridge.
Please keep my suit call open.
Most of the magic that you see in bridge, it looks, for an average bridge player, they see a top-class player play, they think, well, that's fantastic. How did he do that? He must be a genius. But most of it has very simple explanation, like some of the tricks you see magicians do when they take rabbits out of hats. It's not as if they suddenly produced a rabbit from nowhere. There's usually a logical explanation for it, and in bridge is no exception. There's a man, I'll tell you about, I play bridge with in New York. I played a very enjoyable game in New York where there are kind of people who are heads of all sorts of world. And one is a philanthropist. He's an 87-year-old man. He's maybe the fourth or fifth richest man in America. While we play bridge, and while we're sitting on the table, if he's cut out of the rubber, he goes to the side of the room and he takes out magazines and newspapers and reads them. And when he sees any story in these magazines or newspapers of people who've had very bad tragedy or greatly, sad things happen to them, he sends his secretary to investigate them. If they're genuine, he sends them money ranging from $50,000 to $10 million. And he's a man who I've met through the world of bridge. He's fascinated by bridge, but he's such a wonderful person that I feel that it's my interest to make the rubber longer, because the more he's cut out, the more money he's giving to people.
Bridge players throughout the world have a reputation of being very boring people who spend their time fighting with each other. They've got a chance now to show that that's not true, and I know they're going to live up to that. I think that what they're going to see here is a spark that's going to light a fire across Britain, which is going to raise money for leukemia research.
I think it's a really exciting game. The challenge of making a really difficult contract and making one that you really don't think you can, and then pulling it off, is fascinating.
I don't think I could play it. I think it requires a different sort of part of your brain, and I don't think I possess that. It's like knowing how the Hoover manual works. It's not in my frame of reference, not my field. I can do other things. I can draw an amaryllis.
Oh, I love bridge. It's my favourite pastime. In fact, one of the regrets I have when I'm working is that I can't play bridge because most theatricals don't play bridge.
Where did you learn then?
I learned about 20 years ago. I started off at a golf club and couldn't understand what they were all doing, so I read some books, and now I just play competitive bridge in clubs and competitions and things.
I loved trying to learn.
Is it one of those things you could come to later in life?
So long as somebody very patient taught me. When they get angry with me, when I forget the points and I forget the bidding, and I can't do it then.
Something people keep rather quiet about, don't they? They don't advertise the fact.
In addition to your high card points, you count distribution points.
Right.
to arrive at the total point count in your hand.
Supposing I had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever.
Yeah.
How many points? There were 8 of them.
Yeah.
It would be a miracle hand.
Yeah, you'd add on one more.
It is a fascinating game. It's the kind of game really like golf, where you can never be totally satisfied that you haven't made a mistake. You know, you're never. There's no such thing as perfection. Every hand you play, you feel you might have done a little bit better.
Did Tony Forrester do all right this time then?
Wait, I don't want to tell you what he did, because you won't...
Oh, well, did he win? As a person, he seems really nice, and a bridge player, he's obviously excellent. I suppose he's the most famous bridge player after, or even now before, Omar Sharif.
It's like one of these Alfred Hitchcocks, so they had a twist at the end.
The French claim that they invented bridge, with a game played in Paris at the turn of the century called plafond, the ceiling, meaning the highest bid. Omar Sharif chooses to live in Paris for the food and the wine, but above all for the bridge.
I was making my first Egyptian film, and I hadn't realized that making films meant that there was so much time wasted while people were putting the lights in the right places and the cameras and all that, hours spent between takes. And I picked up an old dusty thing in the studio, book. And it turned out to be Gorin's book about bridge, that fat one. And I started reading it, and I became more and more involved and started having a tremendous interest in it, and I took it up. And I always say if that book had been about gardening, I would have been a fanatical gardener now.
He's a very, very competent bridge player. I mean, if he wasn't an actor, he would be an international bridge player for sure, because he's very good. And he's so good for the game because he spends time, he goes around the world, he helps promote the game, because really for him, it's a passion.
The main quality of a bridge player is not, as people think, intelligence. A certain amount of intelligence is required, nor indeed memory. People think, oh, these guys, they memorize all the cards so well. Yeah, that's an automatic. Bridge is a game of logic. This is the most important quality you need to become a good bridge player. The more you have a sense of logic, the better a bridge player you are.
Once I asked him, why don't you get me a part in one of the movies, I can make a lot of money and then I can go and play bridge. He said intelligent people play bridge. Only stupid people make movies. He said, you're not stupid, don't do it.
There are similarities between the life of a film star and a top international bridge player. Both involve a nomadic life and a great deal of travel. Zia has come to The Hague to play in the prestigious World Top Pairs tournament. His partner is American champion Eric Rodwell.
This is actually a tournament that you can, though obviously you don't want to do badly, but you can actually enjoy the tournament because it's such a great place, and the atmosphere and the people, and it's like a bridge holiday.
Zia and Eric are the reigning champions, having won the competition last year, and would dearly love to retain their title. The tournament is held in an elegant hotel, which makes a stylish setting for this top competition. 16 pairs from all over the world take part, and come by invitation only. And although the first prize is only £3,000, this is the event that everybody wants to win, and they feel honoured just to be invited. The games are open to the public, and the Dutch, despite their small country, boast the second largest bridge federation in the world, so the competition creates considerable interest. Nearly every player taking part is a champion in his own right, with added interest this year provided by a first-ever ladies' team from Bulgaria. The tournament consists of 15 rounds, spread over 4 days, and this type of intense competition will prove grueling even to the most experienced players, like the legendary Benito Garozzo.
I'll just tell you a story about Benito. A lot of people don't know that he's very superstitious. And every year at 12 o'clock on December the 31st, without any fail, he takes a walk out of the room wherever he is, goes alone, takes off his trousers and moons towards the full moon. And he believes that gives him luck for the rest of the year in the game of bridge. And it's a very secret, sorry Benito, but this is actually something he does.
6 diamonds, they were at least 500.
They went for 1,100 rows.
This is the way bridge used to be played in the 30s and the 40s. There's elegance, there's class, it's a civilized tournament. Unhappily, the game is not being played in that way in most tournaments, but this is an anachronism, if you will, but it's a delightful one.
It's not going all your own way, is it, at the moment, this competition?
No, it's not, but I hope that is going to improve. We have not such a big partnership. We are getting better every round.
Winning would be unlikely, but we have a chance to finish in the money, and we're going to do the best we can. We've done a few bad things, but not as many as you might expect looking at our score.
And is it all the fault of your partner?
None of it is the fault of my partner.
Isn't he sweet, eh? This is why I play with a guy. He's the only person who'd say that about me.
Paul Chemler is trying to win here for the third time. In '87, he was partnered by Omar Sharif, and last year came second when playing with Robert Reiflinger. He's known for arguing with his partners, which may explain why this year he's playing with someone new again. Fellow Frenchman, Alain Lévy.
Even after 20 years of playing bridge tournaments, I'm terrified in the beginning. I'm nervous that maybe I'm not going to be on my own form. I'm sure always that if I play to my own ability, I got to win this tournament because I figure I'm the best. It requires all these qualities of precision, of concentration, and a mixture and a combination of these is what decides whether a person is good or not. I can't emphasize how precise and exact you have to be. Perhaps if you thought of a surgeon with a scalpel preparing a delicate brain operation, that's how a man playing a bridge tournament threads his way through hands. And we all love it and hate it because of the joy from success and the sadness from failure that you have while you're playing.
At the end of the first day, the South American champions, Chagas and Branco from Brazil, are in 6th position. The Austrians, Fucik and Taranio, who won the tournament 2 years ago, are 4th. The Frenchmen, Chemler and Lévy, lie 2nd, but there on top sit the reigning champions, Mahmoud and Rodwell. The only question is, can they stay there?
Your King Queen of Hearts is better than Ace of Hearts.
Yes, but
I figured that most people in the world work so that sooner or later they can retire, they can travel, they can go out with people they enjoy, and in as many places as possible. Bridge gave me the passport to allow me to do it. and I love it. Okay, Tom. I like going out with women. Women are, for me, the most attractive and enjoyable pastime I have, more so than probably bridge. Now, if I didn't go out with women, you turn around to me and say, you're a misogynist, you hate women. If I go out with women, you say you're a playboy. I'm a bachelor. Who doesn't love women when they're a bachelor?
Well,
But my heart is with you.
Let's go and see the Phantom. No, our cat is way out. It's, dated and old. Let's see Phantom, which is about a year old, not that old. I want to see Cats. I've not seen Cats yet. No.
My friend Imran Khan, who's a very famous cricketer and a very popular man with the ladies throughout the world, when he goes to cricket tournaments, he has bodyguards outside the room warding people off, for women from breaking into the room. When I go to a bridge tournament, I have guys warding them in. So maybe I'm good for nothing, but what are we here for? But I've always been very lazy. I've always enjoyed sleeping late, getting up when I wanted to, and trying not to work if possible. And now I do all those, and it's legal as well, so I think I chose the right way. It's difficult to be settled, because unless you marry somebody who plays bridge as much as you, it becomes very, very difficult to have a family life. You can't disrupt a family life. You require to give certain attention to a wife. I mean, I certainly believe so, and more if you have children. So unless you're prepared to compromise on your traveling, I don't think it's advisable to get married. But I'm sure there's plenty of time yet, and as I get a little bit slower in the game of bridge, I'll get a little bit faster in the marriage stakes. How about dinner? Are we going to have dinner tonight? Sure, maybe the plaza or something like that. Yeah, after the game. In a tournament of the highest level like World Championships, it's very necessary for a player to be physically fit as well as mentally fit, because there is a lot of mental strain. There's a lot of pressure on you that requires you to be healthy as well as with your mind ticking well. So what we do is during tournaments, we only have light meals because heavy meals make you more sleepy and lazy.
Right, keeping your head still.
Yeah.
Right, have a few more swings again.
All right.
Okay, now this is the centre of the swing here.
Okay.
All right, keep your head still. Don't move it forward towards the target. Right back. A little bit quick.
Too quick.
Yeah, slow it down a bit.
It's in the hole.
No. Good try.
Every now and then when you play bridge, you get a feeling of such extreme beauty when you do something which for you is wonderful, that it makes the whole of your day or your time feel good. And it happens in golf as well, I think. I mean, I've just started playing golf, but every now and then a person hits a golf shot, and it's what they call a sweet shot, and they feel so wonderful about it. It provides satisfaction. Bridge is like that.
It's in! Zia is very charismatic, which is what one needs in all sports, because I consider bridge as a sport, albeit it's a sport of the mind mostly. Mind you, it requires a lot of physical ability nowadays, because tournaments are so long and they take a lot out of you. When you're over 50, like I am, it becomes really tough the last couple of days, last couple of hours. But he's a charismatic person. And there aren't so many charismatic people in bridge, unfortunately. He is very quick-minded. He's got a very quick sense of analysis. Some people are excellent, but they need a long time to analyze a situation. And some people are very fast and play instinctively, perhaps better than people who take a long time to analyze. And Zia is one of these very instinctive players who have the natural ability to play bridge.
You left me sad and lonely. Why did you leave me lonely? 'Cause here's a heart that's only for nobody but you. I'm burning like a flame, dear. I'll never be the same, dear. I'll always place the blame, dear, on nobody but you. You're driving me crazy. What did I do? Oh, what did I do? My tears for you make everything easy. Clouding a sky.
Of all the card games, I suppose this is the most open to cheating.
What happens is when you have cheating in bridge, because it's so much more newsworthy, it gets much more publicity than the actual event. So if you have 100 tournaments where nobody cheated and one tournament where someone cheated, the cheating is emphasized and the normal tournaments are not. In America once there was an accusation that two people were coughing passing signals. Because today at the highest level you play bridge with a screen between the two people so that I can't see you in case your face lets me see something. We play with boxes with paper on them saying the bids we make so you can't hear my voice and think from the inflection of my voice that I said something. We play with stools so that our legs can't touch accidentally and pass each other signals. I know a case, I won't mention which country they were from, of people who were accused of cheating, and they were claimed that the way they puffed their cigarettes, the noise, they were like Russians. I don't know if you've seen the Russian cigarettes, they're very kind of hollowy and the paper burns much louder. And the speed in which they smoked their cigarettes were meant to be passing signals. So, I mean, there are all these rumors and some of them are true and some of them are not. But most of the players who play bridge are fiercely ethical because the pride of doing well in bridge is doing it for yourself. And if you cheat yourself, you lose the satisfaction of winning at bridge.
This is the top tournament in the world every year, year in, year out. It's a very, very big one to win. You have to be right at the top of the game even to get invited here in the first place, and then you're playing against an awful lot of extremely good players for a fairly short period, and it's very, very tough to win.
One of the great arguments in the world of bridge is whether or not the women are as good as the men. This year's tournament breaks new ground by inviting a ladies' pair from Bulgaria. Nevida Deleva and Matilda Lora are the champion European ladies' pair, and something of an unknown quantity as Bulgaria is a newcomer to international tournaments.
Is it a good thing that you've never played with these players before? Does that help you, do you think, or does it make it more difficult?
No, it makes it more difficult, especially because these people are great authorities in our minds. These are people whom we have only read about. We know them as brilliant players, so it's more difficult for us to play against them.
You play Zia Mahmood in the competition. Do you fear him as a player?
No. We respect every player here. In Bulgaria, he's very popular. Many people just call him like a symbol of brilliant play. We have a joke when somebody wants to say that he's a very good player, he say, I'm Zia. Things like that.
I think that the average woman might be better than the average man, but at the expert level, the man is better. Most men. Of the top 100 bridge players in this country, there might be 5 women and 95 men. And the reason is that when a man decides to become an expert bridge player, he really can put 100% of his effort into it. And women have other things on their mind, usually. When a woman invites 3 of her friends in to play bridge and she's working very hard to play some difficult contract, it isn't 100% of her mind. There's a little percent of her mind that's remembering that there's a roast in the oven. She mustn't let it burn, and her children are upstairs playing. She must listen for signs of something going wrong, or her husband's at the train and she wants to meet him. And she only gives 95% of her attention to this difficult dummy play. The man sends his wife out, and he stays home to play bridge, and he gets the same difficult dummy play. He just lets the roast in the oven burn to a crisp. The children upstairs are, maybe they've got the water on, the water's leaking right through the plaster, and his wife has been at the train station for half an hour. He ignores that. He's concentrating on the bridge game. As a result, of this not so sensible way of living, the man actually becomes a better bridge player.
And a spade.
If you hadn't spoken, we would have probably repeated it.
Who started it? I've only 8 tricks.
I would have guessed.
That's rubber.
But we do, no, you had polka. We didn't have enough.
Again.
As the tournament progresses, it becomes evident that players playing with their regular partners are doing better than those specially paired for the competition, like Eric Rodwell and Zia Mahmood, who haven't played together since last year's tournament. Having lost their overnight lead, they are forced to rethink their strategy for the remaining rounds. But characteristically, Zia is not letting the situation get him down.
I'll tell you, I used to study to be a chartered accountant, okay? It was rather boring, but it was one of these things you had to do. And I had a very, very good friend who used to work with us, and he was an article clerk, which is what we were, and he was a Jewish Indian dwarf. And he was a really wonderful guy, and we were like, best of friends. And he was like very serious. And I was very kind of gallivanting around the place, and I used to go to the casinos and all this business. And one morning I came to office and I'd lost a lot of money the night before, and I was really in a bad mood. And I turned around to him and I said, David, his name was David. Because he was sitting there beaming all over his face at 8:30 in the morning. So I said, David, you're Jewish, you're Indian, you're a dwarf. How can you be so happy at 8:30 in the morning? He said, somebody just invented the miniskirt. How would you feel? It's actually a true story.
Probably the best rubber bridge player in the world. But you see, most bridge players have got an enormous ego. And Zia's also got a very enormous ego.
All games need people like Zia. They need somebody who will bring people out of the ordinary. It's no use having a group of nice, pleasant, friendly people. You might think that's all you want, and you obviously need a lot of those, but you also need the Zias of this world that bring people out, that people flock to listen to, who's interesting. He's very, very good for the game.
But he's an individualist, you see, an individualist. Bridge partnership's like a marriage, and if you have an individualist, the marriages don't usually last that long.
But I thought you had another club. Why? Because I thought you did the level.
Why would you could pitch a horn?
I pitched my highest club. Okay. How do you play that?
I had the spots, Queen 8. You pitched low at your second time.
I did what I'm supposed to do. I had 2 left.
You play low from 2, Billy.
You played present count.
Low from upside down present count. With 2, you play low. Let's discuss it. You're doing what I told you we shouldn't do. I refuse to do that. Okay.
That is the Queen horse?
Yeah, but
it's very easy to get carried away and boil over when you're playing bridge with somebody, and fights are inevitable. And I can't say not to have them because I've had them and I'm going to have them again. In fact, it's not going to help anybody, and it takes away from the fun of the game. In England, when you play, when you have a disaster, that one partner says to the other, nasty setback, partner. Where in America, the same person will say, you mother. It sometimes looks more serious than it is. But bridge is such an emotional game that it's very difficult not to get caught up in it sometimes.
5. Slow down, take your time.
There's a Pakistani friend of mine who plays, I won't tell you who, he's a rubber bridge player, but he comes to the table, he always puts a little revolver on the seat next to him so that his partner should be intimidated, not overbid too much. I don't know if he's ever going to shoot them, but he just kind of gives them a little warning.
If you ask Zia what makes him into a good bridge player, I guarantee he'll find it difficult to explain all the things. There's some things that he's been born with. For example, psychology. There's nobody better at the table to notice the flicker of an eyelid, shifting a seat to find the cards, other than working it out mathematically. There's nobody better than Zia at doing that.
We rarely stop to work out or to analyze what we're doing. Bridge does allow you to stop to sift knowledge. For me, it's the only place in the world where I think. I don't think in anything in the world except bridge, and I'm glad I have that thing, or my mind would have probably gone stale. I am very fanciful, and I do a lot of things which a lot of people think are crazy, but that's my style. I challenged a computer last year on the television that if anybody could invent a computer to play bridge and beat me, I would have a £1 million bet with them. And unfortunately, for me, I think nobody accepted the challenge because computers, though they can have total photographic memories and mathematical minds, they can't play bridge, which is from the heart.
Many people think that bridge is a matter of luck, getting the best cards. That's not true. It is a matter of comparison. Here we have a viewgraph room, a demonstration room, where I'm commentating, and there the boards are shown on a screen, and the audience doesn't see the players who are on the screen at the moment, because the spectators are not allowed to enter that room. So we get all the evidence from that room by microphones and so on, and see all the cards on the screen, and then I hope I'm able to explain why blue is blue and red is red.
Played queen from the dummy, yes, but that's not so good if East has the king with all the diamonds.
Mr. Chagas, you're in the lead.
Yes, I'm very happy.
You tell the people who think you will probably win.
No, I don't think so at all. No. We've been very lucky so far.
We've had one really bad match against Chagas, which we lost badly, but actually we didn't play very badly. We were just like murdered.
I'm not despondent.
You're not?
I'm just upset I didn't defend the last board right.
How is it going tonight?
Very bad. We were very unlucky, but without being guilty, we lost on every board. I don't know why.
I think it's still wide open. I still think 8 or 9 teams have a chance to win.
Last year we were first at this point, but last hand we were very unlucky and we wound up finishing 4th. The last hand of the tournament, actually, so I feel fine at this point.
In New York, where the big money games are, money itself is part of the game, and a curious connection appears between bridge and the highly speculative options market. Many of the top players here are also playing the futures. But what is the connection?
Well, there is a similarity in that it's a game and you plan things ahead. There's a strategy in options, just like there's a strategy in playing a hand of bridge or in planning an auction. You perceive patterns and you base your plays or your decisions in options, whether you buy or sell or whatever you do against it, based on what you perceive as a current trend. In cards, it's just the pattern of the way the cards fall, where the suits break, whatever. But it's similar. There's a strategy that's semi-similar. Games players who are good at bridge make good options traders.
At 10% interest. So your interest is $400,000 a year, right? And your loan is actually...
People would hire me to play tournaments with them, and therefore I wasn't getting my choice of partners as far as skill. My results dropped off from that, and some of my interest waned, too. So rather than playing professional bridge for the rest of my life, I decided to try the options business in New York now.
I think a good gambler is a good businessman. I also think that all businessmen, frankly, are gamblers. If somebody's in the dress business and they bring out a new spring line, they're gambling. It better be good or else they have trouble. So anybody that takes a calculated risk is a gambler, and all businessmen do.
I have seen people who are lucky at gambling and in life, but I'm perfectly happy to be lucky in life and not terribly lucky at gambling. Once I was playing at the casino in Deauville and I lost all my money, which was $1,164,000 in one night. And I was walking out rather dejected, but trying not to show it. And somebody rushed behind me and said, "Mr. Sharif, you're terribly unlucky tonight." And I said, "Yes, well, it's nothing, it happens," being very grand about this. And they said, "Well, we've got a tip for you. If you have a broker in New York tomorrow, you can buy silver futures," or whatever it was. It was silver futures, and I got into that. And I made some. And fortunately, I didn't hang on to it too long when it crashed. And so that caught up my losses at the casino.
If a bridge player is not making money out of the futures market, the chances are they're making it from writing books on bridge. At any one time, there are 5,000 bridge titles in print, and annual sales exceed 1 million copies. Up till now, Zier has been the odd man out, being the only top player not to have written a book on bridge. But that is about to change, as he's planning a book with Audrey Grant, who has already written 2 successful titles with his partner, Eric Rodwell.
We have someone who will illustrate it for us. I mean, I think the thing is that most people don't want to be world champions. I mean, so what we have to do is present the information that will improve their game socially.
You want to humanize bridge.
Yeah, that's a good word. I think most people feel it's only a game for the experts, and I think that's unfortunate. Because for me, well, you know, I'm a writer. I like people.
Most people, when they think about bridge, they think a certain type of people who have nothing better to do and who are very boring players. Now, how can you make them understand what you and I know, that it's really a game which is exciting, which is vibrant, that everybody gets emotionally involved, and it's more exciting than like a James Bond movie, and that everybody wants to either wants to fall in love with their partner or kill their partner or kill their, you know, it's so emotional.
Well, I think what we can do best is that you've got all the secrets of these experts. So we can take your brilliance and translate it into terms that the person on the street quote can understand. And that's where I think most of the books are falling short. So you can let me know.
Would you like a little sauce?
Yes, please, just on the side, because these look delicious. You must have enjoyed your shrimp, Zia. You ate them at double quick speed.
I'm not jet lagged. See, I mean, normally I never eat lunch.
You know, about 6-7 years ago, the Pakistani team was first formed, and we went to play the World Championships in America. And when we got there, I mean, there was a lot of mumblings about who this Pakistani team and why are they here, and you know, people, in fact, there was an article in the New York Times that, you know, this is a level of the highest competition and countries like Pakistan shouldn't be allowed, there should be elimination, you know, procedures to seed out the better teams, and we were given really no chance, which was probably a reasonable reflection. But our players, who, by the way, when we went there, the Americans would have computer programs and be doing aerobics, you know, exercises to get their minds ready. The Pakistani people were buying jeans and artificial flowers because they never had a chance to, you know, go out before. Suddenly, as the tournament started, our players did very well, and in fact, we got to the final and almost beat the Americans in the World Championship final. And for me, that was like probably the most enjoyable moment, because it was a sense of pride that we had showed that we can compete with anyone in the world, not only in the games on the field, such as cricket or hockey, but in games where the mind only is used. And that was a big joy for me, I think.
Back at this competition in The Hague, the tension is beginning to mount. There are only 3 rounds left to play, and barring an upset, it appears to be between 3 pairs. The Austrians, Fucik and Taranio, the Brazilians, Chagas and Branco, and the Americans, Eisenberg and Sontag.
The character of people really comes out at this stage of a tournament, and you see how they react under pressure. The ones who are leading usually don't have much sleep the night before because their nerves are too much at edge, and they hope the last day is a sea of calm where nothing happens to upset the way that the tournament is going. The guys in the middle want a little bit of movement, and the guys at the bottom, they never give up, because in a tournament like this, the placings are so close and the scoring is such that anybody with a really good last day can still come back.
The last hand of the last round has been played, but the result is still not known, as every pair's score affects the final placings.
We're pleased because we started so far behind this the final day. It was going to be impossible for us to catch either of the first 2 pairs. So 3rd place was only really what we had in sight. Nothing really else was possible. And we played very well today, so we are quite pleased.
We played against the leaders last night, and there was still 5 matches to go, so everything was possible. And we were having a good match, and a hand came up where I asked my partner for aces. He told me how many he had, and I looked at my hand and I thought, we have all of them. So I invited a grand slam, and he did exactly what I wanted him to do, so I bid a grand slam. And then my opponent, who was very polite, looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, double. I had miscounted the number of aces in my own hand, something I haven't done in 30 years of bridge. Ever. And that made me realize no matter what you think, you better concentrate at every moment of your life. You never know when you lose your concentration. I always thought I could count up to 5. Now I found I can't.
So close. 1 point.
1 point.
Are you very disappointed?
No, we're very glad.
Very glad.
Very glad, yeah.
We were playing reasonably well at the beginning, but it didn't go well. And later on, we tried to catch up and swing a little bit, and that was a bit, difficult to do in such a tough field. But rather, kind of sadly in a way, on the last hand, we had a result where we were in a Grand Slam, and which could have made, but we had a bidding standing to get there. And if Rodwell had made it, then Gabriel would have won the tournament, and not Pucci. So it shows that even when you don't win a tournament, your own game can affect all the other people. So, but it was a great tournament, and you don't have to win every time to like it.
Zia, however, doesn't go away empty-handed, because the 9 scorers always award a courtesy prize to the pair whose sportsmanship at the table has been the best over the whole 4 days. And this year, it's Eric Rodwell and Zia Mahmood.
I am extremely self-critical that if I don't succeed in what I'm trying at, I have to push myself to do better. I try and improve and hone the lack of ability that I might have until I can reach as close to perfection as is possible. 3 diamonds, 3 spades, 5 diamonds. I play backgammon and poker and blackjack and chess. I've done everything. But none of them have begun to compare with the depth in the game of bridge, with the liveliness in the game, with the excitement. It's like romantic almost.
I still haven't got to the museum yet. It's my second year here, and I've been in maybe 5 or 6 times. I still haven't seen the museum.
The total pleasure that I get from bridge is so incomparable that I can only wish that more people could allow themselves to have that pleasure, because it's not individual to me. I know a lot of people with it, but a lot of people don't ever allow themselves the position of getting involved in the pleasure that bridge gives you. And I wish they would.